All right, box to box, back again, episode 13. I'll be honest, guys. This is a second attempt at going live with this episode. Last one got, the audio and video got a little bit botched, so we're doing this again. But nonetheless, I do think we'll be able to offer even more context than we offered in the last attempt. You guys won't know, but I'm super excited to be here again, guys. Mainstay host on the show, Jose, joined by two other extremely exciting mainstay hosts, Andre and Alina. Guys, it's been, considering that we didn't really get a chance to go live with the original version of episode 13. It's been a few days now. How's the week going?
It's going good, man. Excited about Liga MX wrapping up, MLS coming up to a close here. And dude, November, we're in November, bro. World Cup month. Like, come on. How can you not be excited?
What is it? 2 Sundays now until two Sundays for the
man.
World Cup.
Let's go.
Oh my God, I'm so
amped.
pumped. It's gonna be so great. Guys, before we jump into the episode, and I think we have a few things to talk about before we jump into World Cup predictions. But episode 13, box to box, presented by GOLZtv. Guys, GOLZ.tv. If you haven't discovered it already, brand new site, brand new platform, solely for footy fans. You can find all of your free, unlimited soccer content on GOLZ.tv. Again, free, unlimited. Go watch as much as you want on GOLZ.tv. Again, that is live today. Now, moving into episode 13, brief preview of what's to come. We're, as Andre just alluded to, we're solely focused on the World Cup at the moment. We're jumping into predictions for groups C and D as part of this ongoing segment. In the last episode, we talked about groups A and B. If you guys haven't seen it already, please go check out that video, especially for the U.S. men's national team fans. We had more than a few spicy predictions there. And I'm sure, there's more than a few controversies there too. But as far as this episode goes, guys, feel free to like the video, subscribe, share it with a friend. Always looking to grow this community as much as possible. But Andre, you mentioned something before that I want to jump into because we don't talk about it a ton before we get to World Cup stuff. Liga MX, they got wrapped up. Pachuca bringing home the title. I don't want to go again. I don't watch Liga MX. I think as many fans on the other side of the border do, or even my family for that matter. But nonetheless, man, I absorb it through osmosis, kind of from everywhere, being a Mexican American. So Pachuca, I think this is their first title since 2016, 2017.
6 years ago.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think what's really special about this title, and we could talk about it. I definitely want your take here. Sure. MLS also wrapped up too. We'll touch on that just a little bit. But with specifically Pachuca, first time since 2016, a lot of young talent coming in and helping them win this one out. You watched the game. How did it pan out?
Oh, for sure. Dude, I mean, so the beauty of Liga MX is that every leg in the playoffs is a two-legged affair, right? So quarterfinals, semifinals, and even the final is home and away.
Which is how MLS used to be.
Yeah. It's the same way that MLS used to be. Now MLS moving to single elimination to make it more exciting. But I think the true colors really come out when you play home and away. It's one thing to play at a neutral site. It's one thing to play where, the higher seed is the home team and you have that pressure on you, right? The away team has no supporters. You name it. There's 1,000 different factors that we can go into. It's been the format for about 20 years now. It's super exciting. They call it La Liguilla. And, being a Toluca fan myself, obviously sad to see that we made it to the final and lost, but we lost to a fantastic team. I think the better team won. Ball don't lie. But going back to your point about Pachuca, I mean, these guys have done it again. 6 years ago, they won with a bunch of young talent that was feeding the national team. The likes of Eric Gutierrez, Hector Herrera, Chucky Lozano, Pizarro. So it's awesome to see that the same kind of strategy is working for them again. And one thing you and I were talking offline about is how they're called La Cuna del Fútbol Mexicano, which means, the birthplace of Mexican soccer. So it's awesome to see that, like, in a way, it came home, right? Like it's
full
awesome.
Circle,
full circle. So
something England can't sit. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know that out there just yet, but
I know. No, but it was really exciting. So again, two-legged affair. Pachuca came out swinging in the first game. They won 5-1. Toluca scored the first goal in the second leg to make it interesting. Had a couple chances, but in the end, there was just too much firepower. So overall, just a great season. Now, hopefully, Tata Martino and the Mexican national team can see that Pachuca is doing something right and call up some of these dudes because their two center mids are amazing. They're extremely dynamic. Luis Chavez, I think he has a shot to make the World Cup roster. I don't know if he's going to start. But dude, both of those players, Ponchito and him, are just insane. So
Does Mexico have any opportunity to do any tune-up matches prior to the World Cup?
yeah,
Like that's a big critique of like U.S.
we,
for example. There's no
yep,
matches heading into the biggest tournament.
yep. We play. I want to say we play Iraq a week from today, so on the 9th. And then we play another team. I want to say some South American team, like 3 or 4 days after. So we do have 2 matches to tune up before we actually get to Qatar.
That's the perfect opportunity,
Yep,
bro. In all honesty, like
for sure.
to test some of this young talent. And you mentioned some of those names before. While Pizarro ended up staying like North American
Yep,
side, right? Like he didn't branch out. Guys like Chucky Lozano, being at Napoli now, tearing it up, seeing
sure.
Gutierrez as an Arsenal fan, watching him play extremely well with the likes of Xavi Simons and everybody else on PSV.
Yep,
I mean, these guys are doing it, and it's
yeah,
kind of crazy to see that 6 years ago, they were in that same phase of their
100%.
careers that these young talent are now. So,
Yep.
Pachuca bringing home the 7th title to their name. Congrats all the way around. It does lead me now to MLS, which I know, again, there's so many fans who did tune into it, of course, but so many I think that didn't even realize we're in the MLS Cup playoffs. MLS Cup's coming this weekend,
Yep.
the final. You and I watched. We talked about LAFC
Mm-hmm.
seemingly, I don't want to say stomping Austin.
Walk in the park.
I don't know if it was a walk in the
That's what
park,
I'm
bro.
saying.
It's just
It was
so
hard.
hard. It's
Yeah.
so hard when you have a team on paper that is that damn good. I feel like Austin
Yeah.
has made the best run they could make with the pieces they have. When you're starting
Mm-hmm.
guys like Max Urruti up top, man,
Yeah.
and you're going up against the
Bale.
star-studded roster. Yeah, the star-studded
Mhm.
Bale and the star-studded roster of LAFC. I think it's just so difficult to
Yeah.
keep up.
I
So to
also
speak.
think the storyline would be it's almost like expected that LAFC is dominating and making it all the way to the final, right? Like if they slipped up for whatever reason, that would be a massive, underachievement for that core and that group of players. So
Yeah,
um,
I agree too.
they will get tested though against Philadelphia. I will say. I watched the Eastern Conference Final. They were down 1-0 against former champions New York City FC, and they turned it around. They scored 2 goals. They're very lethal going forward. So I do anticipate this being a high scoring final, which is going to be exciting. It's the first time ever
I hope so.
that both first place teams in both the West and the East meet in the final. So
Well,
tune in because it's going to be a great match.
When's
hell
that
yeah,
game?
I can't wait.
I believe it's Saturday.
Saturday. This
yep.
Saturday?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
So-
and guys, I fully expected NYCFC to be there just because they have the pedigree, they have
Yeah.
they're the defending champions, and but I thought Philly just this season, what did they lose? Like 5 games,
If
tops?
that.
That, like
Yeah.
and one of them was FC Dallas. Yes,
I know.
sir. But doesn't even matter because FC Dallas got worked by Austin FC. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to expect with the final. If I had to make a prediction right now, it's tough because you almost want to see part of me wants to see the Union take it from a team that is essentially the Galacticos of the MLS.
And they're playing, by the way, it's in LA. The game's in LA. So
it'd be great to see Philly, come out swinging. I'm sure their fan base is going to be present. Like
Yeah, for sure.
every Philly team has a crazy fan base.
yeah.
It's just how that sports town is built.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a banger final. We'll see how it looks when we all tune in. But going back to the kind of the programming as scheduled, right? World Cup predictions, guys. That's what's on the table for today. Let's jump into it. I mentioned before, covered Group A and B. Group C, I do think for the purposes of who's on this show, for the purpose of, I think, past World Cups and looking at how often these teams have run into each other.
Mhm.
This is going to be a banger group because obviously Argentina and Mexico are involved, but you can't forget about Poland and everything that they have to offer, at least attacking wise. Defense, I think, is going to be shaky. And then Saudi Arabia, which even though they're outside of the top 50, they've already proven they keep up with some of the teams who are in that top 20 bucket, aka USA. So Group C is looking like it's going to be an interesting one. The first couple games should really dictate where this group goes, but
Yeah.
let's jump into it. Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Poland. We have those as far as FIFA rankings go in order. Argentina 3, Saudi Arabia 51, Mexico 13, Poland 26. Before we jump into how we think this is all going to play out, do those FIFA rankings even line up with like what you guys like? Is that accurate to both of you? Let's start with Alina.
I think I think FIFA rankings are always like hit or miss because sometimes, for example, for the Nations League, right? Like a lot of people
Hmm.
say, "Oh, it doesn't matter," but you get a lot of points when you get positive results from that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
For example, I think Italy, because they went so far, they've been doing well in the Nations League. This time around, I think they're top 10. They broke in top 10, and they haven't been in the World Cup for the last two
Hmm.
times, and they're not going to be in the World Cup this upcoming this
it's
upcoming
it's
one.
still so crazy
So
to me.
I know.
yeah, that's just one example of sometimes how FIFA world rankings cannot be as accurate as they
Hmm.
should be. Um, for me, I think I don't know because you even get some points, I believe, from friendlies and stuff like that.
Yep.
And there are a lot of
Yeah,
nations that don't actually try that hard during friendlies, and they only want to experiment with formations or players or tactics or whatever it is.
Hmm.
So we always have to keep that in mind when we look at those rankings.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree 100%. I think you always should, right? Just take it with a grain of salt. I think if you know ball,
Yeah.
the eye test should really kind of sell you on any team,
Yep.
right? I think there's plenty of takes that we'll have regarding all of these nations heading into this group, but nonetheless, right? Eye test for me kind of stands above everything else. And speaking of eye test, I think the one team that we can all conclusively say meets the ranking properly based on the eye test is Argentina. I do consider them to be a top 3 team globally,
Hmm.
obviously because they have the likes of Messi. But there's so many pieces to that engine and what makes it run. But also they're coming off of probably just an insane run in terms of success recently. Right, the last couple of years have been very good for Argentina. Messi seems locked in like he's never been before. Like it has a chip on his shoulder.
Hmm.
Same thing can be said about any of those players who are really out there bleeding for not just the shirt and for the nation, but for Messi. They want to see him walk away with the biggest trophy the sport can offer before he hangs it up.
Hmm.
I think too. I don't know if I saw this correctly. Have you guys seen this on Netflix? I think there's that special that's dropping today
Yeah.
for Argentina.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, they're all going to be talking. I saw the trailer. I almost got emotional watching Di Maria. Di Maria, he started crying,
I
talking
know.
about his the one trophy he really wants to win. He has a lot of trophies in his cabinet. This is the one he really really wants to get and go
Hmm.
after. Same thing with guys like Emi Martinez. And so there's so much to this team. They seem so motivated. Are we just should we just go ahead and say that Argentina should ultimately walk away with this group, and there shouldn't be a question about that, Andre?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the one team that I'm like to your point earlier that I'm for sure and certain that they're gonna advance. Um, it's one thing that I want to go back to that you mentioned is obviously Mexico having played against Argentina pretty much in every World Cup except for the
It's
one before.
kind of a rivalry, bro. I mean, as a
Yeah.
Mexico fan, how do you see this? Like when match day comes between Mexico and Argentina,
Mhm.
I feel like you'll be geared up in a way that no other match will be.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, dude, even if we got Brazil in our group, like I still wouldn't be this amped. I mean, just because Argentina always has our number, and that Maxi Rodriguez goal that a lot of my friends continue to remind me of.
I'll never
And
forget it. By the way, bro,
I
Osvaldo
know,
just reaching back,
dude,
right?
he
Reaching back,
yeah,
just
and he had a great
it's
tournament that year. I mean,
yeah.
he gets asked about it all the time. He's now on TUDN, like commentating and whatever, and he gets asked all the time. And he's like, "That's the one goal in my career that I wish I could take back."
Uh,
Um, but anyway, going back to rankings, I think yeah, we got to take it with a grain of salt. The one that like shocks me the most is Poland being so far down at 26 because those guys are sneaky good. I mean, they do have talent on paper, right? You got Zielinski, you've got obviously Levy, a couple other young midfielders in there, so they're going to be trouble. And it's our first match of the group,
yeah.
so we have to get points if we want to advance. Man, I'm telling you, like if we lose to Poland, we can pretty much forget about going through even in second place because then we get Argentina as the second test. And Saudi Arabia is not going to be a walk in the park either. I mean, those guys tied against the U.S. 0-0. Granted, the U.S. looked horrible in the previous friendlies, but they're still going to be, they have nothing to lose, and they're always in the World Cup. Like they're kind of a team like Iran where they'll just be that annoying mosquito that's like always around. Um,
Yeah.
so it's not going to be a walk in the park by any means, but I do have Mexico going through, hopefully in second place. Now, the other
Who's
thing that
the
yeah,
on that front? I want to push back a little bit on Poland.
yep.
So who are the two center backs Mexico has to guard up against Leva?
Well, here's the thing: it depends on what team Tata was going to come out with, but I probably anticipate Hector Moreno and Nestor Araujo to be the two center backs. I mean, they're sizable guys, but they don't have the speed I think that it requires to mark a guy like Levy. I would go with a younger guy. I would go with like Cesar Montes from Monterrey. Like that guy is a standout, and he's got that like physicality. He's younger, he's hungrier. But if he goes with Araujo and Hector Moreno, it's going to be pretty worrisome for me.
Will Edson line up in front of them as the pivot?
Yeah, so he'll be the four, the six in front of them, which again helps a little bit, but I don't know if that triangle.
He's also not the fastest, though.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, out of those three guys, like we don't have the speed that it requires to just keep an eye on Levy and mark his runs or whatever, especially in the box, right? Like his movement in the box is elite. So yeah, I'm kind of worried, man. I also think that Mexico always shocks the world in World Cups. I mean, 4 years ago, I was at the game against Germany where a lot of us were like, dude, we could lose 3-4-0 or maybe we can get a tie. Nobody saw the 1-0 coming. And so Mexico always plays at the level of their opponent, if that makes sense. Like they always raise the level if they play against a European team or a solid like South American team. But then when we play against teams like, Poland or Saudi Arabia, we shit the bed. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We'll see. That first game is going to dictate everything, dude.
So. Yeah, we'll see. And so let me ask you, Alina. So if with all the notes that Andre just kind of gave us around Mexico, right? Yep. That's the first matchup of the group as Mexico versus Poland, which now looks to be a very pivotal match because they're almost. If Argentina performs the way they're supposed to perform, it really will come down to Mexico or Poland, I think. So with that said, right? If Mexico ekes out a draw, basically any result it doesn't get maximum points. Any result outside of a win. Do they go through, Alina? If they don't get a W against Poland,
I think they will. I think as sad as it sounds for Saudi Arabia, I do think that they're going to be the team that the other teams are going to try to farm, quote unquote, try to farm.
Sure.
So, for example, if Argentina drop points, if Mexico drop points, if Poland drop points, whenever they play Saudi Arabia, that's most likely on paper, right? With recent performances, with FIFA rankings, the easiest team to beat in that group. So I think a lot of those teams are going to be looking into scoring as many goals as possible. And I think the last time we talked about it, I did mention it might really come down to goal difference.
Yeah.
And I think that will change it as well.
Yeah. I was going to bring that up. I think that the group is tighter than a lot of people think. I think Argentina go through in first, and then it's between Mexico and Poland. And think about it. If we tie Poland and then Poland tie Argentina and we both beat Saudi Arabia, then we're tied with 5 points. So it's just like, what the hell do we do?
But here's the thing. I don't see Mexico draw. So it's tough for me to see Mexico drawing against Poland unless it's like a 0-0. Mainly because, I mean, like, where are the goals going to come from? Something that we talked about a little bit on the last recording of this was how pragmatic Tata is. And, he's basically relying upon individual talent to shine through in this very pragmatic system because there's not enough fluidity, there's not enough movement, there's not enough cohesiveness within this team to beat teams like Poland, where I do actually believe outside of the stars they have up front, like Zielinski and Lewandowski, I do think that there's just a slight cohesiveness to this team that Mexico doesn't have. And you combine that with the fact that they're not going to see Tecatito, which I think is a major loss, and we lost that months ago, right? But even past that, Jimenez is in this weird place, he's been this way since his major, head injury. And Vela's not there. We're relying upon a lot of young talent. Chicha's not there either. And I don't know, man. It's like it's very hard for me to make predictions on like how many goals Mexico's even capable of in this group stage because I think it's just going to be individual moments of brilliance, and I don't know how much you can actually bank on that. It's almost the same way that I feel about Spurs. Like Spurs have a fantastic team. I just don't think they work together well. I think that the system itself is so pragmatic that you're banking on a moment from Harry Kane, a moment from Heung-min Son, or a moment from Kulusevski. So I don't know. I think the chances could be slim, which leads me to again how if it's a 0-0 draw, I guess. But if Lewandowski gets on the score sheet or he scores 2, where do the goals come from?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I don't know. It's also like one thing that you mentioned. It's really important to understand is like the way that Tata plays. even if we're down 2-0, he's not going to change his formation. Like, he's not going to flip to like a
That's so
3-4-3.
stupid, though.
You know what I
That's
mean?
so dumb.
He's so
That's so
pragmatic.
dumb.
He will change players. He will like make subs, but he won't like he won't take risks. And I think that is very important in the World Cup, especially when it's number one, you got to get points. And number two, if you do go through, it's single elimination. So you have to change it up. Like, what's the worst that can fucking happen?
Yeah, you only get one shot against any of these teams,
Yeah.
right? And if you're down, because look at the firepower that these teams have. Right? I mentioned already Poland, but let's go back to Argentina, right? And some of these guys are injured, but imagine a front three of Di Maria, Julian Alvarez, and Lautaro.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Like you have to guard that front three, and if they start scoring, which they should, there's enough quality there for that to happen.
Yeah.
If that happens, the counter has to come. Like at that point, you have to take risks. You have to open yourself up.
Yeah.
And I don't, just like you said, I don't see him doing that. But even if he were to, I just don't know if they've worked on that enough, trained on it enough to pose a threat to these other teams who really do have attacking firepower. I don't know where the goals will come from. I'm hoping that I'm wrong because again, I'm very much in the corners of both the U.S. men's national team and Mexico. So I guess we'll see. Alina, do you know if Di Maria is expected to remain out? Is he still injured for Juve?
I think so. I think when he came here, like the first few games with Juve, I think he had some like muscle problems, like muscle strain, and then he got that straight red card, put him even further back, and then he played again, and then he got the same kind of like hamstring injury.
Yeah.
So I mean, how much is left? Like a week,
2 weeks,
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah.
I don't know when the coaches have to like officially submit their list, their squad. Like I don't know, it's probably like not the week of the World Cup. It might be actually a little earlier than that.
Mm-hmm.
So like
let's say it's 10 days.
It's in 10 days that they submit that.
10 days prior to the tournament starting.
I mean, in a week, literally a week from today.
Okay, so I think I was reading the news today, and like the paper was saying, oh, like Di Maria might be available for like Juve's next game, which should be in this weekend. So I think he will be good, but I think it depends on like how his fitness is, because I think he will still get called up though, as long as he's at least able to like play 10, 20, 30 minutes. I think he will still get called up.
I would still bring him.
Yeah, especially considering the other injuries that Argentina have. Like they already have Dybala, who's suffering from like a similar hamstring injury.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about Dybala. Is he? I mean, is there any chance he goes to the World Cup?
It depends. I think the next few days are going to be vital for him, and just like try to figure out where his fitness is. And I think they lost another player not that long ago, Lo Celso.
Oh, Lo Celso, dude. That's such a massive loss.
That's huge.
Massive loss.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I do think that Argentina are gonna come in first, but now with all these injuries in mind, and the most recent one, I'm hesitant to call them favorites again.
Yeah,
it's a really good.
I mean, it is a really good point. I was curious about Di Maria and Dybala. I do think that those two guys specifically are very impactful. Lo Celso too, because he's just one of the interior midfielders. They don't have too many interior midfielders that actually can push forward with the attack the way that Lo Celso does. And we didn't even see that from him until he moved from Spurs to Villarreal.
Yep.
And so I think that's a giant loss. What they'll probably do to compensate, though, is to put Messi back into that interior position. I think
maybe.
Yeah, he has to be. He has to be the creator because they have so many attacking options up in front of him on the wings and in front. I just think that it makes the most sense. He can be kind of the 10, a true 10, not someone on the wing, but someone on the interior.
I also think another thing to point out is when it comes to Argentina, having that pressure too. I don't know how they're going to be able to manage it, because it's one thing to do it in Copa America, right? And be like, okay, that's the one trophy that Messi wants, and CONMEBOL is like making up these Copa America so that Messi could finally get one, and he finally gets one. But now to transfer that over to the world stage, I don't know if the players that are on that roster are going to be able to. I'm not saying that they're not going to perform, but I think that pressure is going to add a different layer, right? Like if Messi wasn't there, you play more free, you play without this like weight on your shoulders of like
who concerns you specifically? Because when I look at this team, I look at guys like Emi Martinez, who I think is just a fucking natural born
Sure.
leader. I think Di Maria is very experienced. I think
Yeah.
obviously you have Messi.
Yep.
I think, look, through 17 matches in qualifying, they're unbeaten. I think it's very difficult to see where the L's could come in with how much chemistry this team has. It almost feels like, and this is not, please don't make this the thumbnail or the, this is not like that type of a spicy take, but we talk a lot on the show in the past about how much chemistry teams like Real Madrid have, right?
Yep.
I think what separates Argentina from other nations is that it's difficult to build that same type of chemistry with a national team because you're just pulling in, you're aggregating players from all these different leagues, different clubs. They may know each other, they may not. You take some of that risk when a coach is building a system out.
Yep.
I think personally, because of even what's the coach's name?
Scaloni.
Scaloni. I think even his experience as a player for the national team, he's played with some of these players like Messi in the past before. He's built this team the right way. They all seem to have a chemistry that I think other nations just can't mimic.
Yep.
I feel like it's going to give him a leg up. I don't know. I think injuries is something that everybody's dealing with right now, but the teams who seem to have the most chemistry are going to find a way to work around them. And I think that for me, the experience part of it, it's a slight concern, I guess, but Messi's been here a million times before. Granted, Argentina hasn't always performed in the World Cup. We saw it in the last one. We saw it in the last few, right?
Dude, Nigeria, like if they tied against Nigeria, if Marcos Rojo doesn't score that goal in the 85th minute, Nigeria or Argentina don't go through. So
yeah, it's fair. Like I said, you never know. You never know what to expect, right? But I Marcus Rojo, by the way, like what the hell?
My God.
Well, again, like it just that even just saying that shows me how much this team has leveled up since 4 years ago.
Agreed.
So we'll see what happens. But 17 games, 11 wins, 6 draws, and it's not like just the clear cut, undefeated track. But nonetheless, they haven't lost. So I'm going to continue to back them until someone proves me wrong.
Dude, watch Mexico beat them. Watch Mexico beat them in the second game.
Watch Memo Ochoa have a game that like he had against
like
Brazil.
Yeah,
where he's just like this unstoppable wall. I don't know.
I saw a really funny tweet. Somebody tweeted out a picture of Memo, and then it was like, this man in about 20 days or so is going to turn into a combination of Casillas, Buffon, and Neuer. And we all know it.
100%. And I don't know who's going to have the better tournament. I don't know if it's going to be Emi Martinez or Memo Ochoa. I mean, I don't know. It's tough because I think Emi is just built different. I think the guy is scared of nobody, and he's, I don't know,
warrior.
Just like concussion last weekend, for Villa, because he's not scared to go into anything. He's a true warrior. So I don't know. Again, we'll see how this group really shapes up. Let's go ahead and get some predictions in though. For Group C, I think a lot will get answered after match day 1. Mexico, and Poland. But let's have our own takes on how that result will pan out. Let's start with Alina. How do you see 1 through 4 shaping up in this group?
My prediction is Argentina will grind out the wins, and even though they might not have the depth going into the World Cup, I think once those players come back from their muscle injuries, they're now that I think about it, they're going to be very scary in the knockout stages. So they just have to grind out those results in the beginning and make sure to get first so they can get an easier match. But I do predict them to be in first place. I'm really hoping that Mexico will get second, so you guys are happy.
Let's go.
Let's go. Poland third, Saudi Arabia fourth. But I think it's going to be very close, very, very close between second and third place.
I do too. Andre?
Yeah, I'll echo that. I think Argentina should win the group, barring any, surprises. Mexico goes through in second. You gotta always hope. We'll get France, and we'll worry about them for round of 16. Fuck it. And then Poland get relegated to the Europa League.
Telling you what, man, after what happened 4 years ago against Germany, I think Mexico fans are hoping for France. I think they're hoping for like another chance to shock the world. And
2010, bro.
To be singing and dancing to La Chona on the streets, man. Like that's really what I think is.
I remember watching that game in 2010 when Chicharito scored on Neuer, and then Cuauhtemoc scored that PK. We won 2-0. Bro, me and my dad were fucking jumping on the couch, dude. It was fucking awesome. So
we'll see. We'll see what happens. For me, I think, man. Okay, so let's start with just that first game. I think that first game draws
Yeah.
I really do. I think the first game
I
draws
think
and
so
it comes
too.
down to goal differential. I still think Mexico goes through. I think what'll happen is um, Argentina will find a way to misstep a little bit, not get
Hmm.
maximum points somewhere. They'll take first, but that's what's going to allow just some interesting shakeups in the group overall.
Yeah.
I still think that Mexico, man, it's just such a toss up, man. This is like it's the weirdest feeling going into this
I
tournament. It's
know.
such a
I know.
toss up because it's a weird mixture of injuries and just players not being in form.
Yeah.
But with that said, the best part of Poland is their attack, where they
Yeah.
lack a lot of pieces is in defense, and so that's where guys like Chucky Lozano can run rampant. I do see Mexico going through. I have to have faith. I think that they'll find a way to carve out second, and it pains me to say that because I obviously right Leva is a Barca guy. I'm such a fucking fan, but I would love to see both Mexico and U.S. go through. I think Mexico has a way better shot than the U.S.
For
men's
sure.
national team
Agreed.
does. So we'll put that one aside. But yeah, I think we're all in agreement on who we see going through. And if Argentina doesn't get first, it will be because of their own doing. It'll be because
Dude,
they couldn't handle the pressure, the lights were too bright, whatever it may have been, and they
can
stumbled.
you imagine round of 16 right off the bat, Argentina, France? Fuck it.
If it's like the last
Oh,
one,
That's what I'm saying, dude.
bro. If it's like the
Game of the
last one,
tournament.
that was game of the tournament. That game had nothing but bangers.
We
Just
watched. Did we watch it together?
we watched it together at a bar. It
Yeah.
was the craziest
That was
game,
insane, dude.
dude.
That
At 6 in
Pavard
the
goal.
morning. Oh
Oh,
man,
dude.
every goal in
Yeah,
that
I know.
game was insane. But
Mbappe.
that yeah, dude, that game had the goal of the tournament, and
Yeah.
frankly, it was the game of the tournament.
Yeah, it was. That
So
would
if
be
that
sick, though.
happens, I'm locked in for
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
All right, guys, Group C, that's in the books. Let's move on to Group D. We have, and
Good
this one I
segue.
think it's so straightforward. I don't want to make it seem like it's that straightforward that France is just going to lock it up,
Mm,
but this team is so damn good, guys. We got France, Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. In
mhm,
order of rankings, we have France at 4, Australia at 38, Denmark at 10. I thought that was really interesting,
mhm,
and Tunisia at 30. This in terms of the group winner, this one seems very straightforward because of just how many
mhm,
pieces this France national team has. Now, I will say that they're dealing with a couple different things, a few nagging injuries, some players in an interesting spot of form, but on paper, they are a nice level up from the 2018 team, and most notably with the reigning Ballon d'Or winner Karim Benzema
mhm,
entering this side. He's got this, I don't want to say it's a nagging injury because it's not even an injury. I mean, he played just this past week in Champions League, right? And
mhm,
he's still playing, but it's like some kind of interesting knee knock that Ancelotti's being very careful with. I don't know how Deschamps really approaches it. But you're adding guys like Nkunku, Chouamani's playing consistently with a better team than he was, all those years ago as a young talent.
mhm.
Mbappe is Mbappe, and he's gotten way better since the last tournament. France should, I think, go balls to wall in this group and really kind of take it. But considering the Nations League results, we talked about that at the beginning of the show.
Yep.
Denmark has, in the last two, kind of upset France on that front. I mean, Alina, is it as straightforward as saying French just dominate this group, or should we take those last couple results against Denmark into account?
I don't know. I think their game against Denmark is going to be very, very 50-50. And I think once again, because France have so much more depth in all positions, right? Offensively, defensively, in the midfield, they're going to be able to just get that goal difference, even if they drop points against Denmark. And I think that's what's going to separate them from first to second. And I think for me, when I look at when I compare Group D and Group C, I think like the second and third places are so much more more easily predictable. Like in Group D, for example, I'm not even considering Australia and Tunisia to really put up a fight really for second place. But watch me be wrong because it's a World Cup
You know
and
what's
Yeah.
crazy though
Anything
with
can happen.
Tunisia?
yeah,
What's crazy is that they've never gone out. What they
Denmark.
had at the group stage. They haven't been to every World Cup, but
Yep.
when they qualify, they have never gone out of the
In the
group
group
stage. They
stage.
always
Yeah.
seem to qualify for the knockout. Now, that's again, we could go back and look at every group they've ever had and how
Sure. Yeah.
those FIFA rankings lined up and that eye test lined up, but that's just some food for thought. And with that said, they almost always seem to do it by getting draws against big nations, big
Yep.
teams. The two wins that they have in their history, oddly enough, 3-1 against Mexico back in the 70s and 2-1 against Panama back in
Mhm.
2018. That is it. They've coasted on nicking little points here and there wherever they possibly could just to narrowly get through.
Mm.
So I see what you're saying, but maybe I don't know. Maybe that's something to help them out here.
Yeah, and they did well in the Euros too. That's like another point I always go back to. Like I thought they did they outperformed for what they had, and it might have been that extra push of what happened to Ericsson, giving them
Mm.
that motivation to make sure that they're playing for him and playing for what happened to him. But I do think that they will. I just don't see them dropping points against Australia or Tunisia, but it might
Yeah,
be one
I
of
don't
those.
either.
Yeah, it might be another tournament where they have to grind for points, but I still
They
expect them to go through.
they might because like Denmark's one of those teams where and Andre we talk about some of these players all the time. Guys like Dolberg, guys like obviously we talked about Ericsson before, but
Damsgaard.
Damsgaard.
Mhm.
Damsgaard is also kind of crazy. They have great, interesting pieces in attack.
Yep.
But they're not like these high flying
Yeah.
world beaters that guys like France have.
Yep.
So it's like sometimes the attack can feel a little lukewarm. But
Mhm.
interestingly enough, if we're looking just at recent results, past the two upsets against France back in June and September in the Nations League,
Yep.
in qualifying, 30 goals scored, 3 conceded. So when you think about that level of production, right, this team should have enough chemistry, should have enough of the right pieces to go in there and do what they need to do to get those top 2 spots and move on.
Yeah.
Andre, how likely is it that Denmark can upset France one more time and take first in this group?
Very likely.
Interesting.
I'm actually, I was going to say, we can talk all we want about France, but don't forget no Varane, no Kante, no Pogba, which those 3 were kind of standouts 4 years ago when they won
In
the
2018,
trophy.
yeah.
So I'm not saying that nobody can step in and fill the voids. Obviously, Pogba hasn't played in a while. Kante hasn't played in a while.
Let's dig into that. So who's going to replace Kante, right? Chouameni.
Yeah.
Right? That's the easy
Easy.
one. Pogba.
Nkunku.
Maybe see Kuku's such a weird position, bro, because he could be a 10, he could be a center forward.
Yeah.
You can even put him realistically on a wing or even a striker role.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
They already have wing. Like you have Mbappe outside. You have Benzema in the middle, and then you've got 1,000 options at the other wing, whether it's Kingsley Coman, you name it, right? So I think Nkunku would fit perfectly as a number 10 that can just float and be flexible and versatile in the midfield.
Yeah,
that would be if I were Didier Deschamps
or Dembele too, right? We can't forget about
there you go. Yeah, so it would probably be the front 3 is going to be Mbappe, Benzema, and Dembele. So
and Nkunku probably play more of a 10 role then.
Yeah, exactly. And then in the back, is Jules Koundé going to play? Like, do we know?
Dude, he picked up another injury this past weekend. Dude, and it's like there's still apparently like Barca doesn't want to give media or like
info?
Even they just don't they don't want to rule him out for France or anything. So
got it.
Like right now he's kind of like 50-50. I guess we'll see. I really don't think Barca plays him the rest of the year, which means if we're just talking about that for a second, our defense is complete shambles. Like it's
just all left backs.
Just end the fucking first half of the season, bro. Like I'm so done with this shit. But when we talk about Koundé in France, dude, he's such a good center back option, especially with Varane out. But we just don't know if he's going to play. So
yeah. So then you're going with who? Lenglet and somebody else
who scored this past week in the Champions League.
I mean, he's solid. He's good, but
he's solid. But they're still shaky. Like
shaky, dude. That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah, even with another stat with the defense part. If we're looking at how they performed recently together as a team, even with Koundé in the lineup, I think they kept 1 clean sheet across qualifying.
Right, they give up goals. That's
so Kimpembe might be back there too.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, okay.
Which I know. I think kind of a shaky defender. So
par, yeah.
So in that matchup, then Denmark and France, you think the likes of Dolberg, Damsgaard, and
Eriksen,
are going to be able to kind of pick that team apart?
I think Denmark win 2-1. I'm going to go out and say it right now.
Okay,
dude, and I'm not saying this just to be like, this is my hot take on this, dude. They already beat them twice. I was at the game 4 years ago, France Denmark, 0-0. Both teams needed a tie to go through, so it was like handshake game, like nothing happened.
Sure,
Mbappe didn't even start. He played a few minutes, but either way, I think Denmark know who they're playing against. I think where Denmark could slip up is against Australia, for example. Like, when was the last time that Denmark played Australia? Those like matchups that you're like, we don't know how they play. Like, we can watch tape, but like we don't fucking know how these teams play. Even
Yeah, and
Tunisia.
Australia's like one of those teams. Like even back when Tim Cahill was playing there,
Right.
they're just an engine team, right? Like they're a team that's going to outwork you,
Fighters. Yeah.
because they don't necessarily have the
Yeah.
talent to go head to head with you.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I think Denmark could push for that first spot of the group. That's why the whole C group that we just talked about with Argentina and Mexico battling it out. Like you want to avoid France, obviously, right? Like you don't want to play them in round of 16, but it's all going to come down to how Denmark, performs and how they push them. Because if we go into the third group of, the third game of the group, knowing that Denmark's going to win the group and France is second, like think about it. Do you want to win the group? Probably not.
Probably not. Probably
take
not.
Denmark.
Yeah, I would.
It's gonna be interesting, bro. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the way the groups impact each other is always interesting. Trying to figure out who wants to play who going into the last games.
It's that's why they play at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's gonna be really interesting. So look, and we don't want to take anything away from Tunisia or Australia on this show. Again, it's not saying this. You never know tournament football. You never know what's going to happen. It's why Champions League and Europa League are so captivating, because at the end of the day, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Look at Costa Rica, right? In Brazil. How far did they go? In 2016?
To be fair, Costa Rica over the last couple of World Cups has had some like really just close knit teams in ways that I've never seen before. Now, with that said, I do think that this World Cup, if there was ever a World Cup that was poised for upsets, it's this one. The mixture of injuries, timing, just form, everything.
Players playing at the top level, right? Like you've never seen this many Japanese players playing in the Big Five. Like those are the things that like football is becoming, especially international football, is becoming. The gap is closing between the teams that were typically underperforming and the teams that are typically elite, because you do see players like, for example, let's scrap South Korea. Son is killing it in the EPL, right? You wouldn't see that 20 years ago. There was maybe one or two Asian players in the EPL, period. And now you're starting to see, all these national teams with players that are playing in teams like that. So the gap is closing. And to your point, I mean, in tournament football, anything can happen, right? You see it in Champions League, and, especially when it's a single elimination tournament, one mistake and that's it. You can't take it back.
I mean, we're seeing that in club football too. We can't act like it's not happening. Look at, we saw Bruges take the group in Champions League, right? Atletico Madrid falling out, Barcelona falling out, Juventus falling out, and there's all of these giants of world football that, in this modern age where we're seeing kind of the playing field get leveled out. It's not as straightforward, it's not as clear cut anymore. So I'm expecting upsets.
8 years ago, going back to that Costa Rica team, they won the group, and they had England and Italy in that group.
I forgot that they had Italy too. I remember England. I forgot they had Italy.
They had Italy and England, and they won that group. So, and Uruguay. Actually, Uruguay and Costa Rica were the ones that went through. Italy and England.
I can't wait to talk about Uruguay. We'll have that episode. Yeah, we'll get there. But that team, I think, is a dark horse and a half. But
I agree.
But especially if guys like, apparently, we'll talk about it later, but Araujo hasn't been ruled out yet. Fede Valverde going to lead that team from the front. Araujo being the spine in the back. Dude, holy shit. You think Fede's going to be Ballon d'Or?
No, I don't think he's going to be Ballon d'Or now, but I think he's going to be Ballon d'Or at some point in his career. Are you kidding me?
It'll be interesting to see who gets it first, him or Kevin De Bruyne. I've had this conversation a million times. I don't know who's going to get it first. I think De Bruyne deserves it more, but we'll see.
That's not about who deserves it more. It's about,
I don't think Fede can do what De Bruyne can do.
That's fine. It doesn't matter. But if Fede Valverde,
he's a great threat on the field. I think, but if we're looking at center mids who are the best players in the world, the way that I define the best in the world, I think De Bruyne does things that there isn't any center midfielder in the world that can match him on.
But the Ballon d'Or is not given to the best player. I think the Ballon d'Or is given to the most impactful player.
I disagree with that. I don't know, bro. I think
it's an MVP trophy. It's not the best trophy. There's the best. There's UEFA the best, but
yes, there's the best. But I think that in order to be valuable and impactful, you do on some layer have to be the best in your position. Like nobody can argue Benzema didn't deserve it, right? Would you put any other striker next to him, any other center forward next to him?
Yeah, dude, Haaland, Lewandowski. There's a lot of them.
Last season, would you put anybody next to him?
But he had the stats to back it up. A better example.
That's what I'm saying.
When Luka Modric won the trophy, are you telling me he was the best midfielder in the world? He's better than Kevin De Bruyne he won the Ballon d'Or.
Yes, for club football and for what he was doing in Croatia, nobody could match him. Kevin De Bruyne's impact with Belgium was not anywhere close to what Modric was doing in Croatia.
Okay,
In my
so
opinion,
I agree
so
with that.
so if KDB is doing it with City, but he underperforms in this World Cup with Belgium, and Valverde has a fantastic World Cup, Uruguay end up winning the title, and we win the Champions League, you wouldn't give it to Valverde?
I think he has better legs to stand on for sure, 100%.
So so you want to see results?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I want to see. I want to see more. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Fetty doesn't line up automatically right now. It's just that De Bruyne's been doing this shit for so long, and it's crazy how fast people have just jumped Valverde up the list. He's one of the most informed midfielders in the world right now. But again, I want to see it translate to other stages. Like last year, we're seeing a version of Valverde right now that we didn't even see probably until the Champions League final. Like I at least from my perspective, I saw him take another step up, but he's just been continuing that since then. De Bruyne, I don't think he's ever. I can't remember a game where he just flat out disappeared. I think at times he's been fucked by like Pep's tactics. Pep's overthought shit along the way, but De Bruyne has been the engine to make all of that shit run.
That's fine.
So again, to me, Modric and De Bruyne is a better comparison than De Bruyne versus Valverde. I think it's fine. It's interesting, but. We'll see. If Uruguay comes out and just fucking swings, and fucking Valverde is at the heart of all of it. I mean, bro, we have a real argument then. We got a real argument. But equally, I'm expecting De Bruyne to do something with Belgium.
Toni Kroos, for what it's worth, he's not going to play with Germany this year. But he tweeted out from the national team.
Okay.
But he tweeted out after the Clásico, top 3 in the world, Valverde. So again, he's his teammate, and like he sees him train every day. But
that's fair. Actually, you know what, bro? If someone said, "Hey, Valverde, top 3 in the world," yeah, I'm okay with that. But is he the best center mid in the world right now? It's so tough for me to give that away. Like De Bruyne is he's everything. And granted, I'm a big La Liga guy. I want more players to get recognition from La Liga, especially because everyone just thinks that the Prem is. It's always the end all be all, and because De Bruyne plays against Prem competition, he should always win it. No, that's not how that shit works.
No, that makes
sense. The eye test. I love what De Bruyne does.
The other thing too is, and we'll get there obviously when we talk about the Belgium group, but this has to be the year, right? Like this has to be the year for this golden generation. Yeah. Right?
I mean, like every World Cup, they say that.
Well, I know, but they were younger, and there was this, and there's a gap here, and there's a gap there. Roberto Martinez's job has to be on the line if Belgium don't make it to the semifinals. Simple.
I mean, to be fair, they made it to the semifinals last year, right? So,
they
should take a step up. They should take a step up.
Make it to the final. Like this is the year that they have to do it. Because if you wait 4 more years, I mean, for as much shit as you guys give to my boy Eden Hazard, but like obviously he's not going to be there in 4 years.
Yeah, you're right. But you know who will be? Trossard. And Trossard is, Is
Lukaku going to be there in 4 years?
He's injured.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, who it's going to be up top for them is the Kitolari. The Kitolari is my opinion, the Belgian striker of the future. And the guy is fucking lighting it up for Milan. So I'm expecting him to take the place of Lukaku in a way that Lukaku never could take Belgium to that next level. So
or like you don't who else outside of Lukaku is going to play up top? Batshuayi and fucking Benteke. Like those guys are fucking so mid, bro.
We're not talking about mid's not even a strong enough word anymore. Benteke's like in the MLS. Like we're not talking about that anymore. But like
USL, bro.
What I'm saying is that like I don't know, bro. Who's comparable to Belgium for that golden generation conversation is Mexico. We were just talking about that today.
Fair. That's a really good point.
And they're the similar boat. They could technically have the oldest version of their golden generation at this tournament if Tata Martino would get his head out of his ass.
Yeah.
But they don't. The 2 most prolific attackers for this team are not going to be at the tournament, and it is what it is. Yeah. It's fine. It is what it is. But
we'll get to it later.
Anyway, we'll get to all of this. As you can see, there's going to be a ton to talk about, guys, heading into these next groups and previews that we do. We have another one coming hot and fast this coming weekend, and can't wait for it to go live. But as far as Group C and D, we're done. This was a great show. Obviously, want to thank Andre and Alina for the time today. We're going to, as far as previews for the next episode, Andre, you want to talk about what we want to have lined up for Champions League?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about how the groups wrapped up in Champions League. We'll talk about round of 16. Actually, the drawing for the round of 16 is on Monday the 7th.
Yeah.
So hopefully it depends on when we record, either Sunday or Monday, but we'll have spicy takes on that.
Please, no whammies, man. We need like really, really good matchups in the round of 16.
And
bro.
Most importantly,
what time is it, by the way?
I don't know. It's usually like noon my time. So what, like 3 p.m. your time?
Yeah, like it's gonna be right around like 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, it's sometime in the afternoon. And we can't forget about the Europa League drawing as well, because both
Hey,
Barca and
bro.
Juve are
Yeah,
there, so
hey,
I had to
hey,
bring it up.
and Arsenal. Don't forget about that shit. We're in
That's
Europe
true.
too.
Yeah.
But yeah. We got both Champions League, Europa League, the draws. A lot of previews on that front, guys.
And
I know
MLS wrapping up too, so we'll talk about the final.
Andre wants to
Yeah, this
do the humble
Saturday.
brags about his team, being the only team left in Champions
I
League.
need a
But
new jersey, dude. You only see 13 here. We have 14 now, so I need to update that logo right there.
Guess what
yeah.
I got, guys, a couple days ago?
What?
A Pulisic jersey.
Oh my! Okay, this is where we should end the show. Have a good one. I'm out.
I don't know if I'm gonna have it in time because I did like order from overseas, so it might take like a couple of weeks to come here.
Sick.
Hell yeah.
But oh my gosh, imagine it's like
Tell me it's a Chelsea jersey, not a USA jersey.
It's a USA jersey.
Oh,
damn.
Which is the blue one or the white one?
The blue one.
Yeah.
Okay, at least
the tie-dye. The tie-dye.
At least it's the blue
get
one.
Kenny?
Yeah, it's your boy.
Even worse. No, he's not my boy. I hate that guy.
I am backing him.
Hey man,
I don't know who that is.
That's the pride of Juve. That's the pride of Juve.
Yeah.
You should have got an Aronson jersey. Aronson's the man.
He's too easy to troll, bro. But I will say he is very much the engine for this team. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, whenever we start doing stuff like deeper into the World Cups, we're gonna have a ton of content that's coming for the tournament once it actually kicks off. I fully expect to see, if provided that Alina has it, I fully expect to see that jersey in full form.
Oh
hell yeah!
I'll have mine. I got my. I
should have worn. Shipped yet?
Yeah, that would suck.
It'll get here.
I wish I had the France jersey. I wore it the other day, so it's not clean.
The white one.
That would have been great to wear today. But
dude,
either way, guys, a lot coming on the European front for the next episode. Can't wait to talk about that. And we have again more predictions for groups E and F. So. Again, thank you, Andre, Alina. Great episode today. And guys, if you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend. Again, we're always looking to grow this community. And we're excited to talk to you guys next time. Until then, see ya.